Let's talk about some free agency moves that could still happen for the Pittsburgh Steelers. More specifically, there is one giant gaping hole, and it's the safety position. And the person that makes the most sense is named Tyrann Mathieu. And for a long time, I was getting text messages. I was getting messages on Twitter. I was talking to people, and everybody was talking about how Tyrann Mathieu needs to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers, how it makes so much sense. And for so long, I thought that's just not going to happen. I'm sitting here today, and I will be the first person to admit that I believe it could and possibly will, maybe even probably will happen maybe by the end of the week.
I'm going to be real. I think if the Honey Badger were to come to Pittsburgh, I think that's immediately the best safety duo in the NFL. Like, bar none, no questions.
Right?
Forget about any other argument. I think after watching Terrell Edmunds play football in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform for the last couple of years, anything would have been like an upgrade in comparison to his like coverage skills.
This is why you're blocked.
But having the Honey Badger back there would do so much more for Minka. It would open up so many more things for Terrell Austin to do with the Steelers defense. It would just he's good in coverage. He's good in run support. Like, bro, like he is almost everything that you need that extra safety right beside Minka to be.
He's perfect. He is. So Minka Fitzpatrick is, in my opinion, the best safety in football. And that's arguable. And I'll admit that that's arguable. But in my opinion, he's the best safety in football. The problem with Minka Fitzpatrick is when you give him way too many things to do, he tries to do everything, and he's not capable of doing everything. Yep. You put a guy like Tyrann Mathieu next to Minka Fitzpatrick. Minka Fitzpatrick doesn't have to do everything. He could just be Minka Fitzpatrick, which is an absolute playmaker. You don't have to worry about where Terrell Edmunds was, and they could say whatever they wanted about how they have so much chemistry and they just read off of each other, and it is what it is. If Terrell Edmunds is dropping deep, Minka Fitzpatrick's worrying about him. Exactly. Yep. Like Minka knows, like, I have to go at least somewhat cover that position. You get a guy like Tyrann Mathieu, he can play all over the field. And just like John points out here, he can also play nickel, which is beautiful because the Pittsburgh Steelers don't have a true nickel right now outside of Cam Sutton. And
I still don't love Cam in the nickel anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Tyrann Mathieu fills every single hole that the Pittsburgh Steelers have wanted to fill for years now. And he does it on, it's not like we have to take a risk and he has to develop to the defense, which goes all the way back to the Pittsburgh Steelers' plan for Mitchell Trubisky. This defense is not looking for a guy that needs 2 years to develop. They're looking for a guy that's ready to win a Super Bowl right now. And Tyrann Mathieu, nobody seems to remember, was a Pro Bowler in 2021. So I don't know. Makes too much sense, my friend. Too much sense. Now, let me ask this. His market value on Spotrac is 3 years, $44.59 million, $14.8 million a year. That being said, he has never signed a major contract, at least not that I know of. He signed 3 years, $42 million with the Chiefs, which is big, I guess, but like it's less than what they're asking right now. He signed a 1 year, $7 million before that. And then he signed the major one with Arizona that didn't really, it like worked out for a while. And then for some reason he was gone. Do you think that he goes for them? I don't even want to say takes a discount because if you're Tyrann Mathieu and the Pittsburgh Steelers are like, hey, we'll pay you $8 million a season, but the Kansas City Chiefs are like, we'll pay you 15. You're going to go play for the Chiefs. The Steelers aren't in a position. Yeah. The Steelers.
Although it was really interesting because like before he actually hit free agency, it really appeared, at least on the social media channels, to where like that relationship was like fractured. like between like Tyrann and like the Chiefs. I don't even want to say the organization, but just like the fans. Like Tyrann and like Chiefs Kingdom did not get along great for whatever reason. So I really don't think, unless Tyrann has nowhere else to go, literally nowhere else to go and play football in the league, I really don't think he would go back to KC.
No, he wouldn't go back to KC. And that's what I mean. Like, I don't think Kansas City is a bad example, but just like another team like that. Now, if he has offers, he's going to take a bigger offer. But I just think that if the Pittsburgh Steelers are like, hey, here's $11 million over the next 3 seasons, and you're Tyrann Mathieu, and you're thinking, this is a team that's ready. It's a quarterback away from being ready. But Mitchell Trubisky has taken teams to the playoffs before, a lot worse teams than the Pittsburgh Steelers have right now. I don't know, man. I think that if I'm Tyrann Mathieu, I'm thinking, sounds good to me, dude. Like, sounds good to me. How much do you think Minkah Fitzpatrick plays a role into this? How much do you think that playing next to a guy like Minkah plays a role? I mean, you got to remember, Mathieu was halfway through the season last year, or maybe the year before that, when he there was pictures of him like rolling his eyes at the Chiefs' other safety for making a terrible play on the field. So you get a guy like Minkah, you don't ever got to worry about that.
Not undoubtedly. And I think the prospect of playing with a guy like Minkah in an organization like Pittsburgh for a very, what looks to be competitive team heading into the next season, it's got to be there. I just think it's all going to boil down to what Tyrann Mathieu wants financially. And, I really cannot blame him if he were to want to go and try to chase the bag again, because this is probably the last time he's going to look at significant money, especially considering his age and the position that he plays. So if he were to choose the Steelers other than for, any reason besides the money, sure. I don't think the Steelers have the capital to go out and get him right now whenever it comes to the salary cap. So if Tyrann comes to Pittsburgh, it's 1,000% because he's going to want to potentially contend for a championship and then potentially end his career in Pittsburgh and play next to a guy like Minkah.
I believe so too, and I think he's got years. This is a good one. He is a free safety and not a strong safety, and I will be the first person to admit that. That being said, when you have great safeties, I just believe that they work off of each other. It's not necessarily a strong, especially in the Steelers system. Like a guy like Mathieu could just play across the field, whereas in Minkah could play the deep ball. And I get that Tyrann Mathieu is a guy that could also play the deep ball and be that guy, but he could adjust. He's proven that he could adjust. He's proven that he's that physical. I get where you're coming from, and I get the point. I think that they mesh. Good safeties mesh, and that's hard to put into words, but good safeties mesh.
Look, I get it, and but you have to remember, whenever the Steelers' defense is functioning best, Minkah's playing that high safety role. He's playing center fielder, and then the other safety, which has been Terrell Edmonds the last few years, has been around the line of scrimmage, making plays right around the front seven, right near where the ball is going to be for most of the time. Tyrann Mathieu can fulfill that role. Like I'd like the conflicts between Minkah and Mathieu on the field together, I think would be greatly exaggerated. And I do understand the points to where Mathieu has played almost a similar role to Minkah in previous years. Mm-hmm. I do understand that. But like you said, man, like you get the opportunity to get two great safeties together, you're going to find a way. You are going to find a way to make it work. And like I said previously, if you want to run the same kind of concept that you did on the defensive side of the ball, where you had Terrell Edmonds near the box and then Minkah playing deep safety, playing that center fielder role, I think Tyrann's more than capable of doing what Terrell Edmonds did at a higher level.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he has to adjust and okay.
But that's what I'm saying. We're not throwing them together just because they're big names.
No. I believe that Tyrann Mathieu has the skill set to adjust to being a strong safety. I get the whole throwing them together because they're big names and things. And that is part of my argument is I do believe great safeties just play well together. But I think Tyrann Mathieu plays such a physical role that he could play either safety spot and have almost no issue doing it. I just do. I think that it just, in the Steelers defense with the ability, like Minkah Fitzpatrick, they tried to make Minkah Fitzpatrick Troy Polamalu this season. Didn't really work out.
Yep.
But the Steelers want their safeties to do a lot more than what a typical safety does. Tyrann Mathieu would do a lot more in Pittsburgh than he did in Kansas City. Minkah Fitzpatrick does a lot more in Pittsburgh than he would do anywhere else. I just think that that's how their safeties play, and that's how they've always played. They've always only had one guy playing that role, and it was Troy Polamalu for a long, long time, while Ryan Clark, played a traditional safety, his traditional safety role. But with these two guys, I think that both of them are talented enough to play across the field, and that if they adjusted to only playing that certain role, but they both played extended roles in their specific areas, if this is making any sense, it would work. But again, I get everybody's argument, but I get it. But that's what I'm saying.
1000% get it. But look, the reason why everybody liked Edmonds and Fitzpatrick together was because they felt like Edmonds and Fitzpatrick complemented each other very well. Minkah was the ball hawk, and then Terrell Edmonds was the guy who stayed near the line of scrimmage and was able to bring down defenders in the running game and then kind of patrol the field horizontally right around that 10 to 15-yard mark. Tyrann Mathieu can do that. Tyrann Mathieu is not the ball hawk that Minkah is, and Minkah is not the tackler that Tyrann Mathieu is. I get it, but also at the same time, it's not like they are the clones of each other. You feel?
Yeah. Stubborn has an attitude. If this is true,
that is also
that could be an issue
that everybody is kind of overlooking. Tyrann Mathieu, since he has came into the league, and I don't know if you know his whole backstory on how he came to the league.
He
went through a lot of stuff at college at LSU. Cardinals took a chance on him. He developed and bloomed into this wonderful safety. He's surely a different personnel than his college days, but he still kind of has that, I think ego is the right word to kind of put on him. So that's the thing that not a whole lot of people are talking about. How would that mesh with the Steelers? I would be more concerned about that clashing in the Steelers locker room as compared to his actual play style with Minkah.
Yeah, my thought on all those guys is the same. Mike Tomlin is Mike Tomlin, and he does. If you kept Antonio Brown under the table for as long as you kept Antonio Brown under the table, everything's going to be okay.